Hello and welcome aboard the SPSF Meadow sub. I just wanted to do a quick live video today and show you how I'm laying some track at the new BN Dahlman Yard that I described in my last video. A couple people commented and said they wanted to know how I do it or do a quick video on it. So just want to do a short video and show you what all goes into it. Right now I'm kind of partway through it, so I'll show you what I've been working on, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then give you a little insight as to what's going on. So here, I'll get you a little closer to the yard. So what I got going on here is I pulled out all the old track. I ended up pulling out this track up here in the front that I wasn't going to pull out initially, but I had some extra track and it wasn't lining up right with the switches, which actually changed the track in my yard a little bit. But that's okay, I think it'll work out better. So I got my daughter Lindsay here. She's been helping me a little bit. It actually, it is helpful to have a couple extra hands when you're measuring the track, and because that gets a little tricky at times. But anyways, so I'll show you. This is basically where we're coming in from the South Omaha yard here, and then so the track will come through here. I'm reusing this turnout up here. And this is my programming track, so I want to keep that there. That's going to be part of the yard. And then I'm going to connect with the main line back here. So all of this is going to be new track. I'm going to add a couple of yard tracks over here. And then I'm going to put in a new industry up here, a new cold storage industry. So I showed you this all on the last video, but just wanted to go over that again. And then this right here is where the diesel shops is. We moved the building right now so that it wouldn't get damaged or get dirty when I'm pulling up the ballast. So just to go over a couple things of what I use a putty knife like this for digging the track out and pulling it up. Usually what I do using this rock ballast is really easy to get up with just spraying it with a little bit of water. So I just use a basic squirt bottle for that. And so it's pretty easy to get up. Sometimes when I first laid track, I probably used a little more glue than I really needed to, so some of this old track's a little harder to get up, but it's still not too bad. So then the other important thing that I wanted to point out to you is I locate where my turnouts are going to be, and if possible, I already soldered some of those together. So here I've got two turnouts together. I've already soldered them together, so I know that they're straight. You look down the rail there, and I know they'll stay together. And then I label here where the switches will be, the actual switch bars, so that I don't put glue there, because otherwise it'll glue it in place. So that way when I'm gluing, I know where those are going to be exactly. And so I try to draw with the magic marker, just a basic Sharpie like that, where all the tracks are going to go. So those are the things that I did earlier. I also, obviously after wetting it and pulling up the ballast, it's a little wet, so I try to let it dry a little bit. Sometimes I'll wait a few hours or like come back the next day if I have a lot. This wasn't too bad. So, but what I do is I scrape up all my ballast and just put it in an old cup like this, that I can toss it out later. Another thing that I do is I go through and vacuum up all the junk and get it all clean, because you want it as clean as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just on plywood right here, 3/4 inch plywood, and so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to get it as even as possible. For the yard, I probably care a little bit less about looks and stuff like that. And the other thing that I went ahead and did is I've got some of these ties that I've already got out and got ready to put in between the tracks, because when I put the tracks together, so like looking over here, there's going to be a gap of ties right there, and so I'll have a tie that I can just slip in. It's ready to go. So I'll go ahead and glue this, and then I'll show you what it's like putting in the first track, and then after that it gets kind of repetitive, so I'll let you go or stop the video. Oh, and then just one other note with the solder. I use 6040 rosin core solder. This is 0.032 inch diameter, which is pretty good. I like this for locomotive projects and for track. It's pretty good multi-purpose solder. Pick it up at various places. This I just got at Radio Shack. The soldering iron that I use is a Hacko. I really like these. This one's pretty good. It heats up fast. And there it tells you what the temperature is, on off right there. And I usually keep this on my workbench, but I can carry it around the layout. It's got the sponge there for cleaning it off. I added a newer nice pointed tip there, which really helps with soldering in the track and getting it precisely. And so what I'll do is once I glue all this down, I'll go through and solder all the rails together that's not soldered. And that's really important, especially for DCC operation, but it also keeps the track together. The other thing that I'll do for soldering later is I'll get the feeder wires that I need from the bottom of the layout. And so usually what I'll do is I'll run a test train through here after everything's done, and then I'll figure out if I need to add some feeder wires. And then one other thing that I'll do too, but I won't be able to get to it today because I have to wait for everything to dry, is I'll go through and paint the rails so that it doesn't look all shiny here in the web of the rail, which is unrealistic. So that's what I'll be doing later. But right now I just wanted to show you what I've gotten to prep the track and gluing it. So for gluing, I usually use this acrylic latex caulk. Stuff I like is Alex Plus. I just pick it up at Home Depot. This is clear, which is really nice, so you really can't see it after it's dry. So I'll just show you how this goes. Let me back this up a little bit. So this usually stays wet for a while, but but you don't want to do too large of a spot. But I can glue all of this. This is small enough. I'll just glue it all, and then I'll put the track down. So, and again, when you're gluing turnout areas, you want to make sure that you're not actually gluing where the switch bar is. So it's a little different from when I ballast, because when I ballast it, I try to get as much ballast that I can into the switch area so that it looks realistic. But the actual glue you want to be really careful with. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just following the lines that I threw down. And again, it's a little tricky because they changed from my first plan. And it's always good to have a backup one of these, because you don't want to be in the middle of a project and all of a sudden you run out of glue right when you're getting ready to lay track down. So it's really hard to glue track in sections. We have a number 4 turnout over here. This guy in the way. And that's it. And then what I usually do is I've got a couple different putty knives, and so I'll take one that's not quite as well used, like this one here, and then I'll go through and smooth all this out. So that way it doesn't creep up in between the ties and stuff like that. The nice thing about this type of caulk that I use, your silicone adhesive, is it's really easy to get the track back up. It'll keep it down good, but then if you ever need to work with it again, as I've done in various areas on this layout, it's really easy to get back up. So I'll just go through and spread everything out, being careful not to get anything in the areas where the switch bars will run through. And you get a little bit extra buildup in here that I just spread through various spots. Usually make sure that I get it really good where I'm joining the tracks together so that I can put these little ballast pieces in. Let's see, I need to get a little bit more for this spot back here. So make sure I get those really good.
And are you going to be done taking a picture?
Just hold on, Lindsay. It's just a couple more minutes, I think. This spot's nice over here because I've already got those ties in there for that gap. And it's good that I ended up redoing this track area here, because I was never really satisfied with how this it had a slight curve in it, which looked kind of dumb. Now it's got a bigger curve that makes it look a little more intentional. So I like that. All right, and then I'll just kind of spread this in a random place, and then this stuff cleans off really easily. Usually I'll just rub it off with my fingers later. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll just go ahead and get this one in. The other thing I should mention that I did is I made sure to put in all my rail joiners everywhere. I usually use Code 100 Micro Engineering or Atlas rail joiners. I think I had some Micro Engineering because I couldn't find Atlas for a while. You can kind of see there's one up there. Some people say they don't like rail joiners because they don't look good, and sometimes you can tell, but I think if you weather your track enough, you put ballast around it, scenery, you shouldn't notice it too badly. So let's go ahead and slide this one in over here. It's good to have all of your rail joiners in for this very reason, because when you're getting everything glued down, you want to make sure everything's ready to go so that you don't make any mistakes while you're gluing the track down. And then sometimes what I'll do is I've got like a track straightener that I'll put in through there. I might go get that real quick just to make sure it goes in there straight. You also kind of want to check and make sure that it just looks even and straight. This has a little curve into it. It looks perfect. It's coming in here, it curves, it straightens out. It's nice and straight there. And then what I'll do for weights is just find random things. I used to use thumbtacks that I hammered in, but I broke enough of them. I don't have too many of them now. So now I'll just use anything from, like I'll probably put a weight there. I might use pop cans, whatever, just to kind of put it down. This track is staying put pretty well, so I don't really need to do a weight over here. Sometimes you might have track that's a little harder to, a little more stubborn. So anyways, I think that's really it that I wanted to show you. This gets kind of repetitive now that I'm just putting the track in, and like I said, I'll let it dry, and then my next step after that is to paint it and then do the ballast. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll paint and then do the ballast right after, so then I can spray the ballast down, and then the top of the rail that's been weathered will just rub right off when you wet it. So anyways, I'll keep you posted as I'm going. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this was valuable for y'all, and yeah, I'll let you know how this turns out. Thanks for joining this quick little video, and I'll see you next time on the SPSF Meadow Sub.